And now, you're tuned into RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
What's up, RBLR Nation? Hope y'all are having a good night. Hope y'all are having a good week, wherever you're coming at us from. It's another week closer to the draft, another week closer to, all the NFL free agency news coming to light. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to get into a little position preview. That should be a lot of fun in the second half of the episode. But before I get into any of that, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to hear more from us, we've got a lot of great content coming out in regards to the drafts and, free agency moves, any trades that could be made. There's some interesting stuff going on that front that we'll get to, but definitely hit that like and subscribe button if you like what you hear. You can also give us a follow at RBLR Bucs or at RBLR Sports. But also want to say hello to my co-host, Mr. Zach Blaine. How you doing tonight, my man?
What's happening, brother? Man, it's been a long time since we done just a two-man show, brother.
I know, yeah. Run a little two-man like Jokic and Murray, or Jokic and Westbrook. I don't know if that's better, but either way,
as long as I'm not Jokic, I'm cool with it.
You don't like Jokic? Oh man,
I love him, but he's just more. It's one of those family things again, man. His brothers annoy me, so
really.
I just don't like them. I don't know why. I wouldn't say it to their face, but
Word. I don't know. I think they're kind of quirky and kind of fun. I mean, obviously they're kind of weird, but that's kind of part of the charm. But I feel you. I'll be Jokic then. I will happily be the multi-time MVP. I'm chilling. But sorry, taking a swig of my water. We'll get into some Bucs stuff, and the second half of the episode is going to be where we get into the positional stuff. But this first half, I wanted to talk about Khalil Mack, because he is kind of the hot name in Bucs land, if you will. He's a free agent. He's 34. He's coming off an okay season in 2024. I wouldn't call it, his best or anything, but 2023 was pretty good. Luckily, knock on every surface imaginable, knock on wood, his health has been pretty good, even for a guy at 34. So I wanted to hear your thoughts, Zach, on Khalil Mack, because I know you're big on drafting a cornerback. And if they sign Khalil Mack, I'm with you, because I think that means that they cut Jamel Dean. They make a little bit more cap space in that regard. And then they draft a Jamel Dean replacement in the first round. So what are your thoughts on Khalil Mack?
I mean, I love Khalil Mack. I think if you don't like Khalil Mack, you're crazy.
For sure.
I think the not issue, but the thing with Khalil Mack is right now there's so many edge rushers that are on the either able to be signed or able to be traded for, that it's like Mack, I think, is one of the top two for like definitely one season.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're just doing like a 1-year thing, then yeah, I'm all for it. Sign Mack. I don't know that I trust him for 2 years, and I don't mean that in a bad way towards him, but I think he'll be 37 in 2 years. 35 is already old for an edge rusher. So to think about only having him for 1 year, he's productive and I love it. And if we're only signing him for 1 year, I'm game. I don't want to sign him for more than 1 year. And that's what kind of is pushing me towards two other options.
Don't flirt with us. Give us the two other options.
So Trey Hendrickson, as of like 5:00 today, it may have been a little bit earlier, is now officially, they've granted him permission to seek a trade.
For sure.
Trey Hendrickson, I think right now is the belle of the ball for me. Like I want him very badly in Tampa.
He'd be great.
I don't think it would take too much to get him.
Ooh,
I think it would be. It's not going to be cheap, but I don't think it's going to be Myles Garrett type stuff.
For sure. But where's your head at in that regard? Like, what do you think gets him?
I haven't looked too much into what I think it would take, but I'm not giving up anything over a third this year for him. This year, I'll give up. Is that, you think I'm high or low?
I think you're low. I think he gets at least a first this year.
Oh, maybe yeah, I love him. I wouldn't give up pick 19 for him.
Wow. See, I'm with you. Like I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
I would not either.
Because
I think if they don't, they don't get him. Like they have to give up pick 19.
Is this the last year of his contract though? Like next season? So he's got to be re-signed. So that right there is enough for me to go, I'm not taking a first. If he had 2 or 3 years left on his contract, I would consider giving a first for him, 100%.
sure.
He's got production. He's the best player on that Cincinnati defense. Like,
Low bar, but yeah.
I would give up. I'd give up a first for him if he had multiple years. Only
Absolutely.
1 year. He's going to get paid very, very handsomely next season.
Yes.
So I'm not going to give up that kind of draft capital to have to pay him in a year. And I don't think they get a first for him, if I'm being honest with you, respectfully.
Really?
It's not a thing towards him.
No, of course.
I don't think anyone's going to pay a premium to pay somebody premium money next season.
Wow.
And I could be way wrong. I'm not a genius when it comes to this stuff, but the other one is Joey Bosa. I know you and I kind of talked on it. The injury history scares me.
Yeah.
Could a change of scenery benefit him from the injury stuff? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. But he's only 29. He'll be 30 going into next season. So if you give me 2 or 3 years of him, give me at least 12 games, I'll be okay with that. Like if I have enough games to make it to where you're getting 8 to 10 sacks, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with him. I don't even know if you get 12 games out of Nick Bosa, or Joey Bosa. I'm sorry. I always get that mixed up. At this point,
they're both we're not getting that many games from him, so it's okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing. That's the thing with Joey. Because when he's healthy, yeah, absolutely. Really, really great player, really productive, really impactful on the field. But just getting him on the field, that's the tough part. Like he's better than Jamel Dean. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not trying to compare them in that regard, but he has a higher injury history than Jamel.
Yeah, no, he's played 28 games the last 3 seasons.
Yeah, like that's
the numbers are not great when it comes to like ability to be on the field.
For sure.
When he's on the field, he's a great player. There's no taking that away from him, but it's keeping him on the field.
Right. And I think that's what gives me pause with him. Because, he probably seeks a 1 or 2 year deal. He gets a pretty high dollar amount because he's an edge rusher and he's pretty good. Those guys are always going to get that kind of dollar amount. But I'm really in lockstep with you on Trey Hendrickson. Like everything you said, right on the money. But I do think that they get a 2nd round pick potentially or more for him.
I would, if we gave up a second for him, I wouldn't be mad.
Right.
I don't want to give up a second for him, but if we gave up a second for him, it wouldn't be the end of the world to me.
I get you. I don't think that they get him with even just a second. I think that the Bengals are more likely to re-sign him. I think that's probably the most likeliest scenario out of all this. I think that it's one of the Matthew Stafford thing. Like the Matthew Stafford, they explored trade options and then they came back and they were like, "Hey, we want you to stay." And then that's what happened. The Bengals just have so many issues. They have so many holes on that defense. Why add to it? Like why?
Agreed, but also why take away someone's prime if you're not going to compete?
Oh, but see, that's the thing. I think that they can compete. I think
that defense,
if they just spend 4 straight draft picks, like 1 through 4 on the defense, like they could at least become.
Any offensive line help too, though.
I feel you, but maybe so. But with Joe Burrow as your quarterback, I'm hard pressed to think that they'll be completely out of it. Because even with all of those issues,
I see.
For sure. But hey, if he was on a better team, I think that he's in some serious MVP conversations.
100%, without doubt.
And that's the thing. But regardless, I'm with you on Trey Hendrickson in that I wouldn't give up a 1st or a 2nd round pick for him. I wouldn't give up a 2nd. Maybe not even a 3rd if we're being honest. But
I would definitely give up the 3rd, and I'd be happy about it.
But it's just the price tag is going to be massive. Like if they trade for him, no Chris Godwin, you cut Jamel Dean, and then you're not able to, you have to manage those draft picks, and then you kind of have to reprioritize stuff, which can be difficult. But regardless, going back to Khalil Mack, I am a big fan of him just because I do think that the lower dollar amount than necessarily Bosa or Hendrickson, obviously. And because of his age, he's not going to get a bigger deal. Like he's not going to get a long-term deal. Yeah. I don't think he get and maybe they give him a 2-year deal. And I think that's fine. Maybe they have the 2nd year non-guaranteed. And I think that would be okay. Then we
get one out after the first season. Because my fear with giving a 35-year-old a multi-year contract
Oh,
is.
for sure.
I mean, we saw it with Peyton Manning. We saw it kind of with Aaron Rodgers. Like,
Right. I'd
the
prefer
fall
not, it'd be
exactly,
better for a
the
1-year
fall
deal,
is
but
so bad once
yeah,
you
no,
get
it's
to a
tough.
certain age, and it could happen out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest fear with giving him a multi-year deal. If it's a multi-year deal where I can get out of it in the second year without taking a lot of dead money or a huge cap hit, I'm for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that would be what the Bucs would do if they agreed to that. I think that would sort of be the only way that they bring him in.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a realistic possibility that that's what he takes, because with the Bucs, he has a clear avenue to playing time. I mean, not that he wouldn't pretty much anywhere else anyways, but excuse me, with the Bucs, it's a clear avenue to playing time, and it's on a competitive team. Like the Bucs coming off a bunch of division titles, like he can come in and be a huge difference maker. He seems like a guy that maybe that's important, especially towards the twilight of his career. Maybe he wants to play for a winner. So I don't know. There are a lot of reasons that maybe he would take a little bit less money to go play for the Bucs.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works out, because that would be then I think I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. But then for me, edge becomes like maybe you spend like a mid-round pick on it. Like then you don't even worry about it for the first couple of rounds. Maybe third or fourth, you're like, hey, we really like this guy, best player available type of thing. But then at that point, edge drops down the list pretty far for me. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I don't know if it drops for me because, I mean, obviously we've got like a consensus list that we all did already.
Right.
On my list, I have edge as the third biggest need, so I already have it as like a third round pick kind of a deal.
Sure.
And I'll
But
be
see,
honest,
for me, then it goes to 5 or so.
I don't think I'm going lower than 3 or 4.
Wow.
I could
Okay.
maybe put it at 3, or
Mhm.
I could maybe put it at 4. I mean, but I think I'd still feel comfortable at 3 because best case scenario, you're getting 2 years out of Mac.
Right.
In my opinion, could he go longer? Maybe, but as like an effective number one guy, you're getting 1 or 2 years out of him.
Sure. I get you.
You want to develop. I would love to have somebody to develop behind Mac.
Yeah.
And
No, absolutely.
I don't think we necessarily have an edge guy right now to develop behind Mac.
See, I think Chris Braswell might be
I was
that
gonna
guy.
say maybe Braswell, but if we at least a third, maybe fourth round pick on an edge that's got potential, like one of those combine stud guys that he's, you're played at a small school, didn't get much playing time, but can work out like crazy and has the athletic ability in the third or fourth round, and him learn behind Mac, I would love that. That would be ideal for me.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
From where we have it on our list, yes, it's dropping way down.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, no, I think I'm in that same boat. Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. But yeah, I thought it was kind of an interesting conversation now, because so many people are first round edge, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with that at this point. But if they sign Khalil Mack, I do think it realigns things quite a bit. It just changes the priorities, because then maybe they sign Khalil Mack for a year, and then maybe they spend the first round pick on the edge rusher group next season. Maybe they just kind of.
I mean, that's not a bad option either. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly what the next season's edge class is going to look like, but
Right.
I'm not as impressed as a lot of people are with the outside of Abdul Carter, the top 4 or 5 guys in this draft class.
Sure. Yeah, and that's the thing. You never know how the draft's going to shake out. Because we could watch the first 18 picks go by, and maybe James Pierce is still there, or maybe Mike Green is still there. I don't know.
If James Pierce is there, look, he's going to be there because there's stuff coming out about his character.
Right.
Living in Tennessee as a not necessarily a Vols fan, but my family is, so I kind of like support them a little bit. I never heard anything crazy like that coming from locally. And I live 20 minutes from the stadium. So with that being said, I guess it could have come out, but I've never heard that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, about all these draft rumors, about all of these draft storylines. Like, some of them could hold water, some of them could be complete nonsense. Like some of them, like, we could be talking about this, and then James Pierce goes top 5 or something crazy.
I think ability wise, he should. And if he's there at 19, I was telling you in the group chat, if we take an edge in the first round, the only one I want to take is James Pierce.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Other than obviously Abdul Carter, but he's going to be
Well, yeah, I'm not counting him because he's going.
right. No, I get you, of course. But I'm kind of with you. I'm not super excited about like Mikael Williams or the Texas A&M guys. Like I'm not super. Yeah, and because they're they're fine. But yeah, I would James Pierce obviously would be great, but then again, if the character issues do hold any water, like that's something I have complete confidence that the Bucs are going to do their due diligence. They typically do a decent job at that, other than maybe a select few cases, but that's neither here nor there. That happens. But yeah, I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how this offseason plays out because, obviously with free agency, that plays such a huge role in how teams shape their draft boards and how they, prioritize different positions. Obviously, pass rusher, it's a complicated one, and the Bucs have not done very well in the draft at that position in recent years. But if you're looking for a Khalil Mack type of upgrade to your wardrobe, if you're looking at what you got to wear, it was kind of cold today in Tampa. I don't know how it is in Tennessee, but it was kind of chilly. So if you're looking for it was kind of chilly. So if you're looking for something to kind of warm you up a little bit, or even a tank top because summer's right around the corner, definitely head to shop.rblrsports.com. We'll give you a promo code because we're in the drolls of the off season. That's Cannon, CANNONS. Type that in, get 10% off your entire order. All right, moving on to what everyone has been waiting for, myself especially, because this is the most fun part. This is the position previews, and we're starting with a really, really fun one, even if it's one that maybe the Bucs aren't going to really dig too deep into because they've got a pretty good group already. But Chris Godwin's a free agent, and if you couldn't tell by that statement, we're talking about wide receivers. So with Chris Godwin being a free agent, as much as I think not that it's inevitable, but I think it's more likely than not that he comes back. There's still a chance that he doesn't, in which case this, might shoot up the boards a little bit. But we'll start with some round one guys. Mr. Tariq is not here, but I'm going to shout his guy out anyways because, shout out to Mr. Tariq. We hope he's doing well, having a good Thursday. But I'll start with the round one guy for myself, Emeka Egbuka. My apologies. That is a horrible pronunciation, I'm sure, of his name. But he's just the perfect hand in glove fit replacement for Chris Godwin. If Chris Godwin's is gone and Emeka's there, pretty much a must draft in my opinion. He just totally changes the way that this Bucs offense could be run. If Chris Godwin isn't there, big conditions. He was hampered a little bit by injuries in 2023, but he's such an amazing route runner. He was obviously very productive at Ohio State, even with a really crowded wide receiver room. He played with Marvin Harrison Jr., and then this year he played with Ryan Smith, right? That's his name. The
17-year-old.
Yeah, the insane guy that would go third overall or something if he was in this year's draft. But he played with two just supremely talented guys, so he was kind of overshadowed, if you will. He's still a round one guy, so how overshadowed are you really? But but he still was kind of a second option, and yet he was still putting up pretty decent numbers. So yeah, his athleticism is a bit limited. He's not exactly Tyreek Hill out there or anything, but still, I'm a big Emeka fan. I think wherever he ends up, he'll be sort of not comparing him to Justin Jefferson, but I think that when Justin Jefferson was at LSU with Jamar Chase and he was playing with Joe Burrow on this LSU team, he was kind of a forgotten man, and then he turned out to be really freaking good, obviously. So I think Emeka can have a similar type of under the radar impact at the NFL level. And then Musab also had Matthew Golden out of Texas. He has the opposite of Emeka. He has speed to burn, really crazy stuff. Sort of a much better version of Trey Palmer because he's right. Yeah. Stupid fast. But he also has some injuries. Unfortunately, it's just, that's just how it be sometimes. Yeah, exactly. So, he's not really a slot guy like Chris Godwin. He's more of an outside threat, but he's versatile a little bit. So it's just a question on if he can keep up with the physicality of a lot of NFL DBs, and if he can actually, refine his ability and not just be an athletic beast. Because obviously in college he's way faster than everyone. That's not going to be the case in the NFL. So
exactly.
So it's just going to be interesting to see how he makes that transition. But he'll be a really good round one guy, no matter where he ends up. I like Matthew Golden, maybe not as much as Emeka, but he's a solid get. But I've yammed about enough. Give us your guys, Zach Blaine. Who you got for round?
I kind of have two here.
You're cheating.
I think a little bit, and I only say this because the more mock drafts that I'm seeing as of late, I did this early in the week, actually last week.
Mhm.
So the more mock drafts I'm seeing, I've got a guy that's kind of fallen to us that I'll talk about after this guy.
Mhm.
My original guy was Luther Burden III.
Ooh, love Luther.
Yeah, he's out of Mizzou.
Insane.
Literally a perfect replacement for Chris Godwin, in my opinion. Plays mostly in the slot. Hasn't had great production because he plays at Mizzou, if that makes sense. Quarterback play has not been too great at Mizzou.
Mhm.
He has special teams experience, so could come in and make an impact instantly on, even if it's not necessarily on offense day one, which I think if Godwin's gone, it could be a day one, like he makes an impact day one on offense.
Sure. Yeah.
But even if he doesn't on offense, he can make an impact on special teams. Phenomenal open field runner, hard to bring down. Even though he's not the biggest guy in the world, he's just kind of a stud. Like, can do anything you want him to, essentially.
Yeah, I'm a big Luther Burden guy as well. I would be shocked if he lasted to the Bucs. He seems to be going pretty high, but he'd be great. I love Luther.
Yeah,
as well.
I mean, there's a legitimate shot that him and Golden have both kind of improved themselves, in my opinion, over this
Right.
whole offseason.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be shocked if either one of them were the first receiver off the board.
Wow, really over Emeka? That's interesting. I don't disagree.
Everything
but,
I'm seeing has Emeka falling to the second round.
wow. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
and
interesting.
again, these are just not necessarily ESPN mock drafts, but
Mhm.
like every mock draft I'm seeing, Emeka is not even in the first round right now.
Interesting. It'll be. I mean, it's the NFL draft. Like this crazy
Exactly.
stuff
Pro
like this
days
happens.
change. Zach Wilson got drafted in the first round based off one throw in his pro day, so I get it.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy.
My second guy originally is a guy that I didn't think had a shot to fall to us. Tet McMillan.
Mm.
I've actually seen a lot of people mocking him to Tampa. Perfect outside guy. We moved
Mhm.
J-Mac into slot, which he played
Sure.
at Washington.
Mhm.
We moved J-Mac into slot, put Tet and Mike Evans on the outside, brother.
Yeah, that's an insane wide receiver room.
I think Tet McMillan is the best receiver in this class, and I
do
stand
too.
on that. So if
Yeah.
he doesn't go if he's not the first receiver off the board, I mean, it takes me back to like Henry Ruggs type stuff coming off the board first.
Right. Yeah.
He's 6'5", like 212, literally the ideal Mike Evans replacement when Mike Evans inevitably retires. Like, it's going to
For
happen.
sure. Yeah.
And to get him to play with Mike Evans and learn behind Mike Evans, brother, if we can get I don't care if we re-sign Godwin or not. If Tet McMillan is there at 19, it's almost
Wow.
I almost still take him at 19, bro.
I love it. I love this thought process. I'm a big fan of Tet as well. He's just, I mean, what more can you say?
Yeah, everything you want in a receiver. And I
Yeah.
think him not working out at the pro day kind of dropped his stock a little bit. Or
Well,
not
I
pro
hope
day.
so.
Combine. That's what I'm saying. Like, because if you would have asked me a week ago if there was any shot that Tampa got Tet McMillan at pick 19, I'd say not a chance.
Yeah,
He's
no.
on top 10 for sure. It was what I
Right.
was thinking. But now I'm seeing it more and more, and he's dropping in a lot of mocks, and I'm like, if he gets to 19, that's one of those things where like you just can't pass up on him.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I would be shocked if he dropped. Honestly, I don't know if he lasts past like the 5th or 6th pick at this
I mean,
point.
that's originally that's where I was. I had him 5 or 6 right after New England drafts is where I kind of
Right.
had him going.
Yeah, and if New England doesn't draft him, that'd be shocking, honestly.
New England's taking Travis Hunter, brother.
Really? See, I don't know. I think Travis Hunter goes top 3. I think Travis Hunter's going to like New York or something.
New York's trading up to 1 to take Cam Ward.
Word. Man, if they do that, that's going to be.
Shador's going 2, and then you got Abdul
Yeah.
Carter going to the Titans at 3.
Uh-huh.
And then Travis Hunter, and then that's where I'm at a loss.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Those are some because see, if I were any of those teams, I would not pick Cam Ward or Shador. If there's a team like Tennessee trading back, brilliant, awesome.
Look, so I agree with that. I'm not. Well, Cam Ward, I really like.
Mm-hmm.
I really like Cam Ward. I think he could be a very good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there is a franchise-altering quarterback in this draft.
Right.
But I think Cam Ward's going to get you the closest. I think he can be a more athletic Sam Darnold type quarterback. Like, I think he can play really good if you put him in the right system. Shador, complete bust. I'm calling it now. I'm calling it right now. He's a bust.
Here's the thing: if Shador goes to the Giants, yeah, he's going to bust. But that has more to do, in my opinion, with the Giants than it does with Shador.
He's going to the Giants or the Browns, brother. Like, that's.
Oof, yeah, that's tough.
I know we're not talking quarterbacks, but just brother.
Yeah.
He's going to the Browns. He's sitting behind somebody that's not a good quarterback.
Yeah, and then he's going to start on an awful team. But
exactly.
So just set up for failure. But anyways, we'll move to our round 2/round 3 wide receiver picks, because as much as it's really fun to talk about the draft, there's specific needs that the Bucs have. And Zach, I'll let you start this one off. Who's your round 2 or round?
Well, Saab got to go to Texas the first round. I'm going to go second or third round, probably second round. Isaiah Bond out of Texas. Another could be a slot guy. Maybe not a slot guy, but ran a 4.39. Seems like a competitive fella coming out of Texas, talking about how he's going to run a faster 40 time than Xavier Worthy.
Right.
And it didn't even outrun his own teammate. So
right.
maybe his eyes are a little bigger than his stomach, but I think he could be very, very good. And I kind of like the competitiveness, if I'm being honest with you, especially from a wide receiver. I know we talk a lot about like people being divas and this, that, and the other. I want a guy that wants to go out there and beat everybody he ever plays against, and I think that Isaiah Bond is that guy. An elite. He can, if he works hard, I think he could be an elite route runner. Would probably be a day one starter in slot if Godwin leaves. And just I mean that's all, really nothing bad to necessarily say about him.
Yeah, I mean, there's the wide receiver group in this draft is really interesting. I really like a lot of them. There's not really a name that we'll bring up that I'm like, I mean, the day 3 guys are day 3 guys, but like these first 3 rounds, there are some guys that have some really interesting upside. Like the positive range of outcomes can be really, really fun. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of Isaiah Bond too. Like he was definitely on the radar. But I'll start with Musab's pick, Xavier Restrepo out of Miami. He's a pretty kind of a name brand guy. He was at Miami for a while. Slot guy as well. I know we're talking about a lot of slot guys because that's just what the Bucs need. If Chris Godwin is gone, that's what they're going to be targeting. Xavier Restrepo, definitely not super athletic. Also not really a big dude, but his route running, his savviness is really, really high. It's kind of the Julian Edelman is sort of a comp, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Kind of.
Yeah, a little bit, maybe. But yeah, I like Xavier Restrepo. He can be really, really fun. I think his experience is going to hold a lot of water for teams, just because, he's played in Miami for a long time, and I think that'll play up for him. So I'm a big fan of Xavier Restrepo too. I think that whatever team drafts him will get pretty decent wide receiver.
I'm a huge fan of him. I don't know if he necessarily goes second or third round. I think that might be a little early. But if we were to get him, he's a guy who, like, I feel like through the good and the bad, he's never going to give up on the team.
For sure.
In an age where the transfer portal is so big, like to see a guy that's loyal like that, I think is huge. So I'm a huge fan of Restrepo. I would love to have him on Tampa.
Yeah, if he's there in the 4th round, it's sort of pick him. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of like with Tet in the 1st round. If he's there at your pick, it's almost like you'd be crazy to pass up on him because of what he could be.
Absolutely. So we'll get to my personal guy, who's Alik Ayominer from Stanford. This is probably my favorite receiver in this draft class, honestly. But just based on like where you could get him and how good he could be, because he's really got a really good route runner. He's a really good speed. And he's really versatile, like outside slot. He would be a really nice sort of fallback plan for me in case the Bucs get to 19. Chris Godwin's gone and they don't like anybody that's there. which I don't know that that'll happen if we're being honest. But, maybe they cut Jamel Dean and they let Chris Godwin walk. They trade for Trey Hendrickson or something crazy. And so they go corner and wide receiver. I would not be upset at all. If a leak is there in the second round, draft him. He's really great. The big thing with him is just drops were a little bit sneaky, kind of a problem in college at Stanford. But, other than that, and the fact that he's not necessarily the most physical guy, he's not Mike Evans, but I'm a huge fan of his route running ability. He's super athletic. He's just a really, really well-balanced receiver other than maybe the physicalityness of it. But Alik is a really big target for me in rounds 2 or 3. Whoever ends up with him, I think, is going to be really, really pleased with what they get. But now we'll move to our day 3 segment. I'll say Musab's, and then Zach, you can say yours. Musab's is Rock Taylor. Going to be honest, I'm not really super familiar with his game, but Musab was. You know how he loves his hidden gems. Really big body kind of guy. Definitely pretty physical. He's just going to be really, really interesting. He's kind of an unrefined type of receiver, to be quite honest. He's really good with his hands. Not really super shifty or explosive. That's certainly not his strong suit. But I'd be interested to see if Taylor, from the little that I've seen about him, I'd be interested to see if maybe a team drafts him and thinks about shifting him to tight end at all. That'd be kind of an interesting thing. But Zach, how about you, man? Who you got for your round 3 fella?
So this is another one. All of my original picks were to replace Chris Godwin because I got this deep feeling that he's not coming back because he is now the best receiver on the free agent market.
Really? You think he's better than Stephon Diggs?
I do. Stephon Diggs is old. Wow. And is coming off of, in my opinion, a worse injury for a wide receiver than what Godwin's coming off of.
Wow. Man, look at you complimenting Chris Godwin.
I know. It takes a lot. It takes a lot. No, and I think he proved himself. He was leading the league in catches and yards before he got hurt. Sure. Diggs wasn't. So I think that he's the best receiver in the league, or not in the league, in the free agency market. And he's younger than Diggs, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right. Yep, that's so.
He's going to have a long, big contract, and it just kind of worries me that it might be too pricey for Tampa.
It might be.
That's my biggest fear. I know that he probably wants to come back to Tampa, and I know Tampa wants him. I'd love to have him back, but I just have this feeling that he's not going to be. But with my last pick, like you said with your second pick, your favorite guy in the draft, one of my favorite guys in the draft, Brew McCoy out of Tennessee. I know I live here, so it's probably a bit different for me. Not a guy that had a lot of production in college, but has literally everything you could ask for in a receiver. He had a real nasty injury back in 2023. Reminds me a lot of the Chris Godwin injury. He kind of got tackled low and his ankle.
Right.
And it kind of, that injury is what made me like him so much because he came back and played still and was solid. But when he got hurt, the entire crowd at Neyland Stadium was yelling, "Boo!" People who weren't from Tennessee thought they were booing the guy, but they were just yelling his name like the entire fan base. So it's just, he's someone that it seems like a fan base can get around. At 6'2", 209, he's the ideal size. He can win a 50-50 ball. He's got hops. You're not going to out-jump him. Again, the biggest thing is just he lacked production in college, and that injury kind of, while he came back and played last year, it's still something that in my mind is it kind of hurts the draft stock a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I've seen, the little I've seen, he could even be an undrafted free agent target. That would be really nice for the Bucs.
100%. He's, in my opinion, a 7th-round guy because of the lack of production. That's legitimately the only reason why. I think that he's got every skill set to be a number 2, number 3 receiver with the right setup. He could be a number 1 guy, in my opinion.
Wow, that's bold. I like it. I like it. You got to swing for the fences with these A3 guys. You're going all upside. It's literally there's no safe picks. There's no, it's a safe pick because it's a day 3 pick, but there's no
there's no guarantee. You're either hitting a home run or it's a ground rule or double play.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You're either Yeah, exactly. That's the perfect
It's
way to
all
put
or
it.
nothing with these day 3 guys, in my opinion.
No, yeah, absolutely. But you know, you can occasionally get like a solid start or two, but yeah, but even that is a home run for a day 3 pick.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. But my guy is a bit of a, you know, he's kind of a basic day 3 guy, in that he was just one of the best wide receivers production wise in football last year, or in college football last year. Nick Nash out of San Jose State. He's a bigger dude, 6'3", pushing 200. He's a former quarterback, which is really, really fun. He seemed to use that to his advantage with a lot of his routes. He was really doing a nice job of kind of finding the holes in the zone, just kind of settling down and getting open. Because San Jose State obviously wasn't playing the best competition, but they also didn't exactly have the best competition either. So Nick Nash, really, really fun guy. The big problem with him is lack of experience at wide receiver, although some teams might see that as a plus because then it means that he doesn't have any bad habits.
They can mold him how they want.
Right, exactly. Plus, like the whole position change speaks to, you know, a guy that worked his butt off. Like to the fact that we're even talking about him being draftable after being a quarterback and making that position change is super impressive. So that just kind of speaks to the work ethic and also just how good he is, how athletic he is. But unfortunately, he is 25. That does hamper his upside quite a bit because that is incredibly old for a rookie. Like it's just unfortunately that's just how it is. You know, that's
Brandon Whedon vibes, brother.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just really just a little too old to be a rookie, but at the same time, you know, he was a 6 or 7. I think he was a 6-year college guy, I believe.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see where he ends up getting drafted. Some people have him as high as round 5. Some people are either 6 or 7. Because his age is just plays such a massive factor. And, you know, he was a San Jose State guy. Like it's just, there's a lot of different kind of conflicting things at play with Nick Nash, but I think that makes him a really interesting target because, you know, he was one of the most productive receivers in football in college football last year in D1. So, you know, he'd be interesting. So Nick Nash is my guy. And that's how we're going to end the episode. Talking about Nick Nash. Who would have thought? But definitely stay tuned. We got some great episodes coming out throughout the offseason. We'll be back at you next week with another position preview, as well as whatever happens this next week, because there's a lot of kind of floating, you know, there's a lot of floating storylines that might be resolved within the next week. Maybe they won't be. But regardless, we'll be back here. And Musab will be back next week as well. So we really appreciate y'all tuning in, though. Thank you for listening. If you stuck with us this far, I'm Carter Brantley. That's Zach Blaine. And we'll see y'all next week. But until then, go Bucs.
Go Bucs.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.